Welcome, forest friends. It's time to enter the forest and see what we discover. Open your mind and wander with us for a bit. Welcome back to the Cognitive Woods Forest Friends. Every journey eventually reaches a moment where the map is no longer enough. The trail forks. The signs grow fewer. And the question is no longer where to go, but how to decide. This episode is called Holding the Compass, because in a world filled with powerful tools, adaptive systems, and infinite information, the most important skill is not access. It is discernment. It is the ability to pause, orient, and choose with intention. We've spent this season exploring how minds work, how schema form and stretch, how memory stabilizes learning, how narratives shape identity, how habits automate thought, how echo chambers form, how disruption opens space, how ideas reconnect, and finally, how AI can act as a companion rather than a command center. Today we ask the final question of this arc: who is steering? Metacognition is the mind's ability to notice itself thinking. It is awareness layered on top of cognition. It is the quiet moment where a learner says, "I'm stuck," or "I might be wrong," or "I need to slow down." Research has long shown that metacognition is one of the strongest predictors of learning, transfer, adaptability, and long-term success. Not because it makes people smarter, but because it makes them more intentional. In an augmented world, metacognition becomes even more essential. When systems can generate answers instantly, the risk is not misinformation alone. The deeper risk is outsourcing judgment, letting speed replace reflection, letting fluency replace understanding, letting confidence replace care. But tools do not remove agency. People do when they stop asking questions. Discernment is not skepticism for its own sake. It is not distrust. It is the ability to weigh, contextualize, and integrate information into existing schema without surrendering authorship. A discerning learner does not ask, "Is this correct?" alone. They ask, "Correct for what purpose, in what context, and according to which values?" This is where narrative identity returns again. People who see themselves as passive recipients of knowledge defer easily. People who see themselves as meaning makers engage. They compare, they test, they reflect, they revise. Discernment is not taught through warnings. It is modeled through practice. In classrooms, discernment looks like inviting students to explain their reasoning, even when an answer is available. It looks like asking, "What do you think this tool is assuming?" It looks like slowing down just enough for reflection to catch up with speed. In leadership, discernment looks like resisting the urge to automate decisions that require human judgment. It looks like holding space for uncertainty rather than rushing to closure. Agency lives in these pauses. Cognitive science tells us that when learners feel a sense of control over their thinking, motivation increases, schema become more flexible, transfer improves, anxiety decreases. This is not because control eliminates difficulty, but because it restores dignity. The learner is not being carried down the trail. They are walking it with support. This distinction matters deeply in an AI-rich environment. A companion that scaffolds thinking while preserving agency strengthens cognition. A system that bypasses thinking weakens it. The difference is not technical. It is philosophical. Stewardship is the word that brings this episode home. Stewardship is responsibility paired with care. It asks not just, "Can we use this?" but what should we and how? It recognizes that every system we design shapes how people think, what they practice, and what they come to believe about themselves. Educational leaders are stewards of attention. Teachers are stewards of cognitive load. Parents are stewards of narrative identity, and learners, ultimately, must become stewards of their own thinking. The forest metaphor matters here. Forests thrive not because everything grows unchecked, but because balance is maintained, growth is guided, resources are shared, boundaries exist. When stewardship is absent, even powerful systems collapse under their own weight. As we close this episode, hold this gently. The future of learning is not about choosing between humans and machines. It is about choosing how humans remain human in the presence of powerful machines, thoughtful, reflective, curious, responsible. The compass has always been internal. Tools may light the path, but direction comes from values, awareness, and care. In our next episode, Forest Friend, we will begin a new arc, one that turns outward toward classrooms, homes, and systems, exploring how these ideas become lived practice, not just understanding. Until then, keep your hand on the compass. Walk slowly when you need to. And remember that thinking well is not about arriving quickly, but about arriving with intention. We'll see you on the next trail. Thanks for joining us on the Intellectual Hike, Forest Friends. Don't forget to visit us at www.alderbranch.org for more free resources and join our friends today. See you for another brain hiking adventure soon.